Hello, my name is Caroline Frost. I'm an entertainment journalist, and it is my great pleasure on behalf of the RTS to be welcoming the chiefs and founders of Monkey Kingdom. We are celebrating 21 years of their work, including the great hits of Made in Chelsea, creating stars like Dommett, Miranda Hart, and everything else that they would like to tell us about. So we're going to kick off by introducing, we have with us the co-founder and creative director, Dave Granger. Hello, Dave.
Hello.
And we have Will McDonald, co-founder and creative director.
Hello.
Hello, Will. And we have Sam Lawrence, MD, in the middle. So can we begin with beginnings? Take you back to, I'm guessing, the year 2000. What was the original inspiration for setting up your own company and going on this adventure? What began the whole, how's the acorn sown?
Well, it's love to say that was a great master plan, but like all good things, it was by default. Dave and I had run Ginger Television, Chris Evans' company, for about 7 years. And that was sort of coming apart and disbanding for various reasons. And we thought to ourselves, what do we do now? And we decided we didn't want to work for somebody else. We'd been fairly autonomous. And so sort of by default, that meant setting up our own company, which is what we did. And we involved a couple of other people along the way to help us form some kind of business plan. But it was, like I said, it was by default rather than a master plan.
I think we were worried about working for someone else as well. I think we had a brief brush at Ginger with working with a larger company, which we hadn't enjoyed particularly. And I think when we left that arrangement, we decided it was better. We'd be better on our own. As Will said, we had a couple of friends who were in a similar position. So Monkey started,
and it was. I think in the beginning it was a different time to now, and I think it wasn't necessarily in those days. Our worries were kind of not ambition, because we'd been fairly lucky with all the shows we'd previously done, and most of them had sort of worked and got on television. The ideas that we had, from Don't Forget Your Toothbrush and TFI Friday and The Priory and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, the TV series, and we didn't have the lack in the ambition or this naive belief that anything we did would get on. It was more about, well, how do we set up an office? Where does the money come from? And so it started off with me and him on a park bench, and we kind of bumbled our way through setting up the company in a way. So we sort of worked out. We made some mistakes along the way, but we sort of gradually worked it out.
That's interesting. So your creative juices weren't the problem. They were already flowing. It was the logistics, would you say, were the bigger challenges that beset you?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, without any doubt.
Yeah, we had a naivety that was quite useful at the time, I think, of, well, it's easy to set up a company. Let's just get on with it and do it. Oh, no, hang on, what do we do? It's a fairly small world, television, so we knew all the commissioning editors, and we thought, well, if we come up with a decent idea, we know where to go and how to sell them, and they trust us, hopefully, from the work that we've done before. So this should be easy. So the hard part was then setting up the company, but we had a very bright co-partner at the beginning who created this business plan, which I'm going to now say is ahead of its time. And he drew a triangle, which was, the idea was create entertainment hits, easy, it's what you guys do. And then from that, create internet sites for those TV shows, attract people to those sites, then involve a brand that can then get involved in those people of the database you've created and that kind of stuff. And the last part of the triangle was ad funded programming. In other words, why did you get involved in those brands, ask what they want, and create shows that they want that help you set up a program, which meant that we raised a bit of money and we set up a division effectively, which we called Chimpworks, which was a bunch of people creating internet sites. And we met brands. We were involved in Mother, the ad agency, and we would go to pitches with them. And then very quickly we realized there were people creating internet sites drumming their fingers on the table going, have you created this TV show yet? And we were paying them to sit there and not do very much. And the brands were kind of, at that point, sorry, networks had a lot of money, so they didn't need brand funded money. And so very quickly we burnt our way through that money and realized that in the end, TV is about ideas and not e4.com, which at the time had just opened up but needed broadband and nobody had broadband, you know. And so it kind of, we went through that learning process and spent a lot of money. But meanwhile, in the end, what kept us going was just good ideas.
Good telly. Talking of ideas, you'd already had a fair number of hits to your name. So TFI Friday, Don't Forget Your Toothbrush, all your success at Ginger. How did you work out going forward where you were going to fit creatively in quite a crowded market? How did you identify, if you have, your USP?
Yeah, I mean, again, we'd love to say there's a glorious strategy, but there wasn't. And actually, I'd say it doesn't continue to be. I mean, one is aware of what the market is looking for because you exist in it. But in the end, the best ideas are created, new original ideas, which aren't based on anything that's gone before. So that's all. We've always believed in that. So I hope and think that we've never looked at anything and thought, let's do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or try to come up with something new. And then there is that naive belief that you will do that, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you've always got to entertain yourself, because I think we're not very good at self-plagiarizing, just because you get quite bored of things in the end. And you've got to find the things that interest you as well as being a good idea. I mean, I think that early stage of Monkey, what that we learned out of that was to be quite entrepreneurial, because we were doing things at those, like we were creating a TV show for Bebo. You remember, anyone remembers that? Bebo, not the TV show. And that sort of made us think, let's have good ideas, but then let's find interesting places to put those ideas, or let's find interesting places that may want ideas and find things that fit that. Because in the end, the biggest things often come from the smallest things. And so, you know, subsequently along the way, we have done, you know, a series for the Huffington Post or things like that, that are little online content that can grow, because in the end, it's about having a good idea and giving that idea a chance somewhere. If it's good enough, people will find it.
So you're not precious about its destination. It's about sowing the good plants and watering them wherever they may be planted.
Yes, I think we're becoming, it's interesting, we're becoming more precious about destinations now that there is such a clutter of destination now. It wasn't 20 years ago. Now there's an awful lot of places, and I think we and producers we know, you think more about the network or the platform and whether that's going to enable you to get to an audience. I think we think about that more than we ever have.
Mm-hmm.
Early days Monkey, getting permission from any network was a joy, and it was just like, oh. But now it's like, now you think, well, is that actually, are they going to look after our idea well? Is it going to get to there? Are we going to find an audience? You know, will it come back? You know, importantly. So those things I think are much more important now than they were, definitely.
Well, it's a big.
We had that kind of sledgehammer of we didn't have a big company behind us. We didn't, you know, and in a kind of risk-averse environment like television, we've always thought our ideas need to be different in order to actually somebody to take the risk on them. And in the end, you've just got to throw a bunch of stuff out, have a million ideas, and somehow work out which one the good ones are.
For sure.
The best ones are those things that are just the ideas. Often the best things are the things that end up being the thing you thought of in the first place, or somebody said in the first place. And so, you know, I like our first couple of shows that we made. One of them was a show called Make My Day, which, in fact, was my other half said to me. She didn't work in television. She just said, you know, those days you have when you get on a bus and you sit next to somebody you're at school with, and then your favourite celebrity walks down the street. Why don't you just give somebody a day like that? Which is such a brilliant and clean and clear idea that we basically went and pitched that sort of the next day to Kevin Largo and Sue Murphy at Channel 4, and they went for it. And then Swag was an idea which was we were working with Guy Ritchie and Matthew Vaughan at the time, and Guy Ritchie hilariously had just witnessed his bicycle, rather Madonna's bicycle, being stolen out their garage in London. And he said, I wish I had this thing that I could press a button and the brakes jammed on the bicycle, and this little urchin who stole my bicycle flew off the handlebars. And we just went, that's a brilliant idea for a TV show. which again, we just, you know, and I think it's those little ideas that are very hard to find, but when you get to them, you know it quite quickly.
I hope Madonna got her suitable commission for that as well. Sam, let's hear from you. So you have a very pedigree background in a couple of previous companies. What would you say sets this company and perhaps these two quite self-deprecating fellows apart?
Just the creativity, the enthusiasm and the dedication. It's, you know, I don't think I've ever worked anywhere quite like Monkey. I remember someone saying to me before I came here, go work at Monkey, it's like working on a live show every day. And it is like that because it's just a constant, you know, it's just a really constant creative place. It's really collaborative. And it, you know what, it's just really fun. And I really like, you know, it sort of can slightly drive you mad sometimes commercially. But I do like the fact that, you know, kind of we make a show, we don't then do, you know, kind of 3 or 4 spin-offs of that show because we're always looking for the new thing. And I think it's insanely creative and that's really exciting. And I think people, you know, broadcasters want to work with Monkey, you know, and people want to come and work here. And that's, you know, and I think, you know, kind of the 3 of us feel really strongly about that. You know, we want to be a creative hub. And we want to be a place that people want to work, and we want the broadcasters to want to work with us.
Fantastic. How big is Monkey? What is your workforce these days?
Currently in the office, nobody.
0. But in normal circumstances?
We're currently, as Will said, you can't see, we're currently insanely busy, and I can't actually remember how many people we've got on our books, but we're sort of in production on about 12 shows. So you know, we're a very small core team, and I think that's a really good way to run the business. And I do think that, again, you know, I think that gives that core team will have a voice, and I think that's really important. You know, and then we like to just employ a lot of really good people. So coming out of lockdown last year, I think the main driving factor for us was that we just wanted to give all the people that lost their jobs, we wanted to give them work. And so we fought so hard to get all of our shows back up and running so we could just hire everyone back and, you know, and give people back, you know, a bit of their life. And I think that's what we always, you know, we're always striving to do.
I think as a working culture that we're from a long background of live television, you know, going back to the Big Breakfast. And I think you realise that if an office is happy, it comes across on screen, particularly live television. And you just want people to be enthused to be there, the team, and not to be harassed and bullied. And because the kind of business that we work in, it sometimes does require quite a lot of work, and you want people not to resent that and to enjoy the environment. So that's always, working environment has always been really important to us, and getting really good people to make things helps us.
Helps us a lot. It means we can go and lie down.
So going back, what would you say was your first key successful title that took you up a big important step, both creatively and with your reputation? What was the one that put you on the map?
Which I've already mentioned, Make My Day, and that was very quick into the history of Monkey. And we did two series of that. It was an interesting sort of take on a hidden camera show, but very positive one. And it won a Rose d'Or, and actually we won a pilot for ABC in America even before we'd shot the UK series. So we were already doing a series for Channel 4 and a pilot for ABC in America very quickly. So that was like a real, okay, we can produce shows. We got a good team to make that show, and good office team, and that was a real kind of kick-off point for us, I think. And very quickly we were doing that, and then followed several other shows.
Yeah, it's always important as the first one, so it's really significant. It was an amazing day. I remember it now. You know, getting that commission for the pilot was incredible. Obviously, because you set the company up and everybody's looking at it, go on then. You know, so yeah, that was extraordinary. But I think also the sort of show it is is a really good reflection. Everyone gets very bored of Will and I talking about Make My Day. They really do. So sorry to everybody watching.
Go
but,
on, indulge.
People watch this and go, God, not again. But I think as a reflection of the sort of television we like to make, it's a mischievous format. It plays in real life. It does a lot with talent. We were told it was impossible, which just drove us mad. So we wanted to make sure that it was possible, and indeed it was. So I think all of those obstacles, were good obstacles that we wanted to get through and get over. And that's the entrepreneurial way that we fed into that. I think that's just rolled on. So I think it does cast a long and good shadow over everything we do, I think.
I mean, you've just listed some of the elements. I'm looking at the list of hits to your name: Celebrity Karaoke Club, Emily Attack Show, Don't Hate the Players, Dating No Filter. This is a notoriously hard to crack market, the non-scripted entertainment format. Have you developed some sort of formula for success, a checklist that seemed to work consistently, or am I being far too logical about it?
We would write
anybody says they have a line.
We take our medicine show around the country and sell it
in a bottle.
It was that easy, but no, you just got to, keep going. I mean, it's relentless is the key, is the thing about television, and it's voracious for, spitting ideas out, and so you've got to somehow just keep going. And I think for us, the two key points have been good ideas and talent, because talent obviously is hugely important, because cynically, networks will buy talent because it's a low risk thing to do, but also that creates a show in its own. And we always like creating shows with talent, working with talent closely to get the best out of them, and obviously we've done that with Chris at Ginger, and we quite early on we were doing shows like the Charlotte Church show is a good idea, I think, of a show where we just thought Charlotte's such a brilliant talent. She'd gone slightly off the radar, but she's got that ability to be really ballsy, doesn't really care, in a good way, what people think of her, and can sing and act and be fun, and is incredibly funny and smart. So we just thought this is a bit of a no-brainer. And so again, it's one of those things that once you've had that idea, we met her and said, "Would you like to do a show?" She said, "Yeah," because nobody had asked her before. But I think that, and it very quickly sold Channel 4. But in the end, it was great to work with her to try and mould the show based in her image, and I think we've always keen to work with talent as well as ideas.
And I only add talent, obviously on camera, the talent behind the camera as well. So I think we don't underestimate ever how, and we always say, you get a commission, that's amazing, but actually the hardest bit is making the show. So actually bringing that idea to screen and making it work as well as you want to, that's where the collaboration is so significant. And so that talent behind and in front of the camera becomes really significant. We try and run the company as flat as we can, in order to enable everybody to feel like they have a voice, because we need to hear those voices, and increasingly as we get older and older, we definitely need to hear those voices and give them the ability and the freedom to do what they want to do and to run after what they want to run after. So, and out of that, good shows will come, and that's talent as well. So Sam Thompson, Pete Wicks, you meet those two, there's an incredible friendship. It's extraordinary. It's a wonderful dynamic. Now we're just, we give them the platform to do what they do, support them as new talent, and there's a pretty young and new series producer on that show, but the combination of those people together in a room is just really rewarding for viewers, so that's when television gets really exciting, we think.
Can you tell me about the juggernaut that was Made in Chelsea?
We had this idea for a show called Daddy's Little Princess. And we happened upon this extraordinary girl called Charlotte Woodruff, whose dad started Yo Sushi, and we filmed a bit of a taste of sex with her, in which she went to Waitrose, but her method of transport to Waitrose was a speedboat on the River Thames. And this was like, we thought, wow, this is good. And I think that was sort of the starting point. And then, as ever, you sort of start digging around and finding communities and.
Well, great personalities, and we wanted to tell it's a very aspirational world in which that cast moved in, basically. So, from an audience point of view, that the world is enticing and interesting. Everybody had been, posh people were always sort of lambasted on television. Nobody liked them. They're always portrayed as posh idiots. So we thought, well, let's, the people we were seeing were cool and interesting, but also we made the decision to go after, love, life and relationship and friendship. That was important. So don't have them just waving how much money they may or may not have in the face of the viewer. Have them go through friendship, relationships, dating. That was the interesting bit about the world they live in. And obviously that's what, it has grabbed everybody's attention. People did warm to them massively, and 10 years later, it's still going, and it's stronger than ever at the moment. I mean, it's going through a whole new sort of, it's amazing at the moment. It really is. The streaming world is giving it sort of new momentum. The team that are on it are just firing on every cylinder. So the production team are just, gloriously high quality work still.
And the quality,
it's amazing how robust it has proved to be.
And the quality is really important, because when we found an original cast, we decided to shoot the taster tape, the mini pilot we shot for it, to make it look beautiful. That was a really important part of it. And actually we got Ben Carron, who directs The Crown, to shoot this thing, on a Canon 5D or something like that, and just to make it look. I think that's part of what really draws you in. It's like a beautifully shot thing that kind of somehow pulls you in as well as, obviously, as Dave said, all of the story.
And again, it was another show like a drama. That's no one was doing that, basically. I mean, Towie arrived at the same time, and we parallel tracked, as we discovered, and so we merged in the same year, pretty much.
Yeah.
So,
but still, we had no. I mean, we just could not have predicted what happened, because it just got put out at 9 o'clock on a Monday evening on E4. We thought, well, we've had enough by then shows that had done that and done nothing, and we thought, well,
it's so weird looking back at it now.
It's just, I mean,
6 hours. We thought, well, let's try this. What will everybody think? Because everybody's saying, well, no one likes Sloane. What are you doing? So,
you made Sloane's likable again. Tell me.
Yeah, it's not. Sometimes with television, you also get right time, right place, and you can't, as well as idea. For whatever. I think that just happens. It's just the stars align.
More stars aligning in Cheshire with your Real Housewives. Now, I have 2 questions here. All I've said is, why Monkey Kingdom and why Cheshire?
We wanted to, we were in the reality space already doing Chelsea. We wondered what other precincts were out there that might be fun to do story in. And we're obviously, now being the ending part of NBC, very aware of the Real Housewives franchise, which is obviously massive. The big problem one has launching a reality show is that it is landing a brand new cast and getting people to like them enough to come back week after week. And Real Housewives brand had that, had a fan base already, basically. So we knew it would be. So we spoke to Angela Jane a lot when she was at ITV about trying to do it, and there was never really the right place. It felt like it should be an ITV show. And then ITVB was created. And at that point, Angela rang us up and said, "Okay, now I'm ready." So off we went, basically. And I think when Cheshire always felt like the right place to go. And we talked about some other places, but actually at that point, Cheshire was clearly the right place to set that show, knowing what Real Housewives has to deliver as a format.
Why Cheshire?
Because the women up there, there's, again, aspirational place, fabulous houses, people live wonderful lives, but also the women that we were meeting up there are bold, they're proud, many of them entrepreneurs, they say it like it is, they live life at 100 miles an hour, all of those things which, people, fans of the Real Housewives brands expect that to be there. It's loud and it's funny and it's brash and it's a lot of fun and it's very naughty. And I think that's Cheshire delivers that. And obviously now we're doing Jersey now, which is which is definitely different sort of flavour, which is exciting, absolutely, and seems to have landed really well. So that's good.
Jersey, I'm fascinated by Jersey, I must say. You've mentioned talent being absolutely crucial central spine of the outfit. I'm just looking at the names that you have created a launch pad for. Let's see, Miranda Hart, Emily Attack, Catherine Ryan. Courtney Act, Jamie Lang, Joel Dommett. I mean, the list is really long and impressive. Can you just indulge us, take us back to your first meeting? Let's start with Miranda Hart. How did you...
I don't think we were very successful. I don't think we should in any way be suggesting we created Miranda Hart at all. We were just desperate to work with her.
No, we were given an opportunity to because with Miranda to do her it was 10 years since the start of the sitcom, and she wanted to mark that in some way. And we were given the opportunity to pitch for that against other companies. And you know, the moment we walked into her living room and had reassuring amounts of cake with her, we just got on like out of her, I'm going to say, and we just found a really good common ground. And we made the 10-year reunion at the Palladium with her, and subsequently at Christmas the Games have showed his names and are working on other projects with her, just because we just connect, and I think that's so important with talent. Not to put them all talent in one box, but there is that thing of the reason they're talented is they have idiosyncrasies, let's call them, and you want to make sure that those are there on screen, as opposed to, you know, either pander too much to them or to sort of let them take over. So I think Miranda we just got on with, is the truth.
Had a connection. What about Joel Dommett? We're going to see him in action later. What was your first meeting with him?
It's funny, we just remembering. It's quite hard to remember when you've done a lot, that sort of when you first met people. But we did a taster tape. I think it was 10, 11 years ago for an idea called Hall of Blame, which was just a kind of sort of comedy show using a touch screen and some clips. And Joel was on that with his then comedy partner. Catherine Ryan was on that. Alice Levine was on that. Some other people. I mean, it didn't go anywhere, but that was the first time we worked with him. And then he did.
Yeah, then we were doing, with Chelsea got so big, we were pushing that basically, and we ended up doing spin-off shows for Chelsea Online, which no one had done. No one was doing spin-off shows back then, and we thought that was a great idea. So we used to do a live spin-off chat show, like, you know, the Extra Camp, or, you know, all the ones that exist today. I think we were one of the first, so I'd like to say, anyway. And Joel hosted that basically. So Joel used to turn up in Chelsea every Monday night in a room above a bar, basically, and interview some of the cast. And that was a lot of fun. And again, with Joel immediately, you know, we loved working with him. I mean, he's obviously going to be successful, you know, and he was brilliant at that. So, yeah, no, it's lovely to get him back to Dating No Filter, actually. It's the first time I've worked with him for a little while.
It's obviously sometimes you have an idea for a show, and then you think, right, who's the best people to be in this show? And other times, obviously, with Charlotte Church, you go, okay, let's build a show around her, you know, or with Elton John, when we worked with him, we sort of had this idea for an autobiography. We thought this has to start with somebody really, really big. And we went to Elton and he said, okay, this is good. And we sort of, you know, went from there. With Maya, it was very much, come up with this idea for a show called Don't Hate the Players, which is a hip hop comedy panel show. And the moment you have that idea, and ITV2, Paul Mortimer bought into it straight away, because it's an amazing, you know, it's obviously an amazing world, but it's a huge world where that grime and urban music is the biggest music in the world globally. And you suddenly go, well, okay, who fits this most perfectly? And Maya, we went to very quickly. I mean, she was, I think, at MTV at the time. And you thought you need, you know, young people who are part of the scene, and she was, again, quite quickly realised, and she is perfect for that show, Don't Hate the Players, and she says it herself that she's allowed to be herself more on that show than any other show that she does, because she loves it, she feels relaxed, she understands it. And so on that show, Jordan Stevens was another really good example of somebody who's a former musician, who just, you could tell when you watched him on things, just really, really smart and clever and funny. So it was about filling that world with the right people, and Maya was an obvious one, and Lady Leisha was an obvious one, current rapper who's just really brilliant in herself. So sometimes it's fitting the right talent to the right thing.
Mm-hmm. How do you spot a star? You've got a pretty impressive track record of doing that.
They don't all work.
Oh, we only know about the ones that did, I see. But it's
yeah, no, of course. It's, gosh, again, like all the other boring answers we've given to, like, why did you start a company? It's sort of slightly persistent. It's knowing the market. It's knowing the market. What a funky thing to say. It's being aware of everything that's around, be it comedy or music, and it's helpful to do shows, because when you do shows, you meet really interesting people and you think, okay, we should do something with them. We should think of something that fits them. So when you're lucky enough to be producing shows that has a lot of talent going through its doorways, then that's another good way to find talent.
I don't know.
Read the newspapers.
No. I mean, liking them is a big liking them is a big deal, right?
Yeah, people. I don't think we work. Well, we just don't work with anyone that we don't want to work with. So I think it's relationship and collaboration, isn't it? And if everyone enjoys working together, then you come out with a great product.
You've already mentioned that it was pretty soon after you formed that you were already sort of US facing as well as domestic audiences. How did those opportunities appear for you from the US? Were they existing relationships, or did you go out?
It sort of goes back, for us, it goes back to Don't Forget Your Toothbrush, that far back.
Right.
When in 1995, terrifyingly now, we did a pilot for ABC, because obviously that was a show we took out there. And once you start working out there, you realise like here, it's quite a small world. There's lots of networks, but there's not that many people, and you get to know them quite quickly. And then you realise, wow, they speak the same language, and they're interested, and it's a very big market. So we already knew the market, which is how we then pitched. Our first show meant I Dare as a pilot. And then from that point onwards, we were always going out there and pitching, and either shows that we were already making that we try and sell versions, but also creating shows out there directly. So, for example, Andrea Wong, who we knew from before, who at that point was running ABC, called us up and said, we don't have a sort of variety entertainment show here like you've done with Don't Forget Toothbrush. Can you create one for us? So we created this show called My Kind of Town and sold it to ABC, and it ran, did a series for ABC. And so I think, once you know people, it sort of breeds relationships. But what we found over those first 10 years of Monkey was every time we sold the show out there, we had to co-produce it with another company. And that's not always ideal, because you can be quite precious about creative ideas. And for example, we came up with this mad idea called Man versus Cartoon, which was scientists trying to recreate moments from cartoons in real life, which is a great sort of daft idea. But we sort of handed it over to this American producer, and it just didn't really work. And I think we started to realize we need to sort of be creatively as involved as we are here, which kind of led us to, in 2010, realizing that we wanted to be part of an American company to help us sort of be independent out there, so to speak. And so, long story short, we sold to NBC Universal. And since that point, obviously, when we make shows out there, we are sort of in creative control of it.
When you make these US-facing shows, do you have to alter your creative dial in some way? Is it a different kind of audience that you're catering for, or do you just follow your nose?
You do follow your nose, but again, you need to collaborate with producers out there to know that it is a different audience. Without any doubt at all. Television is made slightly differently. You just need to get used to that as well. There are more people for a start. But so yes, it is different. But you need to, as Will say, you want to be in charge of it. That's the important bit, is you don't lose the creativity. How it's translated in terms of who says what, which talent you have. We're not entirely sure which talent is sort of, off the moment or should be there or not or whatever. So you are reliant, as you are here, really, on a team of people to work with. So, but it is holding on to the creative side, I think, is really key.
This year, you've produced an impressive 70 hours of TV despite all of the restrictions. What lessons would you say as a company you've learnt that you will take forward? I think, Sam, this is probably one for you. What do you think has been the biggest?
Well, no, Sam's been brilliant. So, yeah, no, completely.
I think we've learned that we're incredibly resilient, and I think resilience and creativity have really come together. And I think we've been really determined, as I said earlier, and we just wanted to carry on making our shows because, you know, kind of we just wanted to keep going. And I think also, you know, kind of, you know, the three of us are not very good at like not working or not making shows, so we get very bored very quickly. So I think we just had to sort of, you know, it's like for our own sanity, like keep going. But I've loved the way that everyone's come together. It's been a really lovely monkey collaboration, and, you know, kind of, you know, we can't praise our teams enough across the board, because they've just really just come together. They have worked really bloody hard, and they've done it all because they love the shows and they love Monkey, and that's just and you know, so we're really proud. We're really, really, really proud of all the work that we've all done, and I think, you know, we just kept delivering to the channels, which is, I think they're very happy as well.
So you haven't dropped a ball?
Not one.
If we haven't, we've cleaned it, wiped it down, check with the COVID supervisor that it's okay to then hand back.
7-second rule. So let's finish by looking ahead, going forward. Off the top of your heads, what is at the very top of your wish list production wise? What's the show that you haven't made yet that you are still destined to make, God willing?
Well, there's some shows that we're still determined to make that sit on scraps of paper from 20 years ago, because in the end, a good idea needs to find the right time. But no, I think broadly, you know, it's a fairly pat answer, but, you know, big series on big networks is the thing. I think what's interesting now is the fact that it is a world going towards sort of probably fewer, bigger, better, as consolidation of all the streams and that kind of thing, is that you've got a world in which now, in our world of NBC Universal, there's now pulling together of all of the networks, NBC, and then of the cable networks like Bravo, E, Oxygen, Sci-Fi, and Peacock, the streamer, and they're looking at how to put shows across channels, like to play them on two channels and things like that. So it is, and there's fewer people making decisions because they're looking across small networks. So I think all that means that it's a sort of slightly fewer, bigger, better world, and I think we need to find one or two big shows.
Yeah, and I think, you know, kind of our sort of the global reach is really important to us. So, you know, kind of with, you know, we've got Ollie in the US, you know, he's present there, you know, kind of all the time doing, you know, kind of great work, but actually the coming together of it, you know, and shows that, you know, kind of we're just, you know, we're really proud of, you know, which, you know, things like Don't Hate the Players, you know, the inclusivity of that show is so important to us. I mean, you know, it's important across all of our shows, but to go out and still keep making great strides, you know, kind of with those shows, and you know, and they're groundbreaking. So, you know, kind of, so it's sort of a big global plan, but, you know, not forgetting all the other important stuff that we really need to do. We feel it's our duty to do.
And I think also how to financial models and things like that to be aware of. And we're thinking about how, I mean, we're shooting now with streamers. It's now slightly less the UK networks, the US networks. It's slightly more with obviously Netflix and Amazon and Apple and whoever else will appear. It's more global, and so we're thinking, well, some shows we're making in the UK for the UK, some shows we're making in the US for the US, but then also we're thinking, how do we create hubs, you know, in the UK for the US, and all of these kind of things that are just sort of being in touch with, you know, what's going on in the world and who's got money and how it works.
Being nimble, really nimble.
Thank you for your time today, three of you, and look forward to the next 21 years. We're now going to take a look at one of their latest, hottest shows, Dating No Filter. I'd like to welcome back David Granger, exec producer of the series, along with two of Dating No Filter's fantastic comedians stroke comedic commentators, and currently two of the UK's biggest television personalities, Judi Love and Joel Dommett.
What an intro. I'll take that intro all day, every day.
Before we jump in and ask you both about the show, let's take a look at a short clip of one of last week's most inciting moments.
I'm very excited, but I'm also very curious. You know, I could be matched up with anyone right now, so.
I don't know if she's going to be into this outfit. I think it's too bold.
He's given off real Michelin Man vibes right now.
For today's date, we're going to be drawing a still life model. Yeah, I'm not sure how he's going to react to it, but yeah, let's hope it goes well.
Fingers crossed the model's not fitter than you, Josh.
Yeah.
Here she is.
What a great way to start a date.
Here she is.
Here she is.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm Tia.
Josh.
Nice to meet you.
They really suit, though.
That's what I said, bro.
They really suit. Yeah, good they look together.
What are we getting up to today?
So we're doing something artistic. So are you creative? You got a creative side to you?
I actually think I'm quite creative, yeah.
Do you know your art?
Did it for GCSE,
Oh,
so.
did you?
Wow, he did it for GCSE.
Yeah, what? What did you get at GCSE?
I failed it.
Oh, did you? All right. Oh, no.
The reference in GCSEs.
It's all falling apart, isn't it?
He seems nice. He's tall. So the fact that he's taller than me, which is a good sign.
First impression on Tia, good-looking girl. She's dressed nice, nice eyes, nice smile. I'm excited for this one.
For this one, as if he goes on another dates quite a lot.
I'm bowling at 5. Then I'm laser questing at 8. So let's wrap this up, yeah?
Dave, can I ask you first? Now, this show originally was aired in the US. How did it take shape for you, and what was your decision to bring it to the UK based on?
So it's a format that started on E in the US very successfully. I think it's now in its second or third season, and we'd seen it obviously brought to us by our formats division. I just really liked it. I mean, it is very funny, very clever format that just obviously puts comedians and dating together, and it's a brilliant marriage basically. So we were very keen to see if we could get it away in the UK. In order to do that, we did a small taste test, which Judi took part in order to show the networks just how good we thought it could be as a British version. And obviously Sky took it, which is brilliant. We showed them towards the end of last year. They ran at it very quickly and then said, can we have it on air in February, which was very quick. And we obviously said yes because we wanted the work and we're excited about it. So off we went and then went about the casting, etc. So
yes, in this country we are blessed with a huge catalogue and roster of great comedy talent. How did you go about choosing your star commentators?
Well, Judi and Joel were obviously top of the list, clearly. So we started there. It was basically it was really important to us. I mean, it's a warm, joyful, celebratory show. That's it. No, it's not there to be mean about people or anything. That was really important. So I guess that dictates to some extent the cast. But actually, what we wanted was just a very good range of comedic voices, essentially. So and also a range of sort of really well-established stars like Judi and Joel, and then some newer faces as well. So it's a great sort of forum to put new people in front of an audience, as well as comedians that people love.
Right.
So it was a joy to get the people we did. Really,
it's a really good. Like from my perspective, I think it's to your credit, David. I think you've done really well in terms of the people that you've got. I think there's a really nice roster of people that's so diverse, and I think it's really it's really interesting. You haven't just gone with the same bunch, which would have been really easy to do. I think it would have been very easy to go with the people that you see on television a lot. And I think that sort of littering of newer people and sort of more established talent, genuinely, I think when I watched it the other day, I was like, oh, this is really it's really refreshing to see different people on.
Thank you for saying that. I thank you for saying that. I would take all the credit, but that would be very unfair. Obviously, Jess, Sarah, etc., did the work. I just dropped in at the end. But I should say also, we really wanted comedians, pairs of friends as well was really important to us. That actually wasn't just two comedians, and we sort of put them together and hope it works. The dynamic of those pairings is really important. So we wanted people who had established relationships, and frankly, who could take the piss out of each other a bit as well. Because I think the sort of self-deprecation and the honesty around disastrous dates is really important, because we've all had them. So let's just celebrate those as opposed to being sad.
Joel, can I ask you to take us through it? So how does it work? Is it genuinely zero filter? What's the first look that you get of what you're commentating on?
Yeah, so you sort of sit down with your friend and you sort of your fake flat essentially. It's like it's in a studio, so it's like a little corner of a room, and then you get shown the date. And basically, what happens is, as soon as you start talking, they pause it, which is very interestingly done differently to Gogglebox, which is interesting. But yeah, which I prefer the way that Dating No Filter does it, because it's just nice. It gives you more freedom to chat, and and so they stop it as soon as you start talking, and then you find something funny, and then you move on. And what I found really interesting that the producers all said, and you probably elaborate on this, David, but it's like all the comedians apparently would constantly pick up on different things. So it was like, it's almost like, for the producers, I think, quite an interesting sort of comedic social experiment, because it's like,
that's our thing, isn't it, Joe? Observation. As comedians, that's our thing, observation.
And it's like, and different comedians observe different things. So whereas we would, I think me and Tom particularly honed in on like a guy's gilet for constantly, and it's like that was our thing. Whereas like Tom Allen, Susie Ruffle would completely go for something different. And I'm sure you, Judi, would do something different. But it's fascinating, but it's so fun to film, like so easy, and just like, it's just sat down with your friends, taking the mick out dates. I mean, like, I literally do that when I watch first dates anyway, and that's what's beautiful about the format. It's simple for everyone, really.
Natural. I think that really comes across. You don't feel like you're watching someone at work. You're just watching the telly with someone else. Fantastic.
Well, the beauty of what Monkey Kingdom has done, yes, it's something that was done already in America, but how they've matched and brought in all the different comedians and made it feel so homely. What they've done so beautifully is given the audience something that they would do. We all have a date and we come home and we tell our friends and pick up on all the little bits that we didn't like or we were surprised. So they've just given it to us for us to be involved, the same thing we would do at home. And that's what's so lovely about it. That's what was so natural about it, and even the environment and how we recorded it. So I think that's why it's really becoming a favorite to many people. When it aired out, there was videos going viral, there was Twitters, there was people saying that they haven't seen anything like this, and they're just so enjoying it. They were naturally comfortable with it, and that's what these guys done, and it's great to be a part of that.
When you're watching it and commentating, and you are in theory on duty, you're working, do you get involved in the romances? Do you start rooting for them, or are you just a comedian at work looking for a bit of drama and something you can poke at?
Look, I'm Judi Love, yeah. I love the love and I love the juice, which is the drama as well. So if we can combine that, which we have done in this amazing show, what else do you need? I'm always rooting for love, and I'm always looking at areas that might stop us from, developing those relationships or putting our true self forward. So when I see that in the dates, I just openly speak about it. We've seen it in ourselves, and sometimes I feel like we don't even see it. And watching this makes you realize, wow, I do that on a date. Maybe that's why that date didn't go so well. So I pick up on all of it, and I go ham, as they would say, and I just speak my truth from what I see, because someone might learn for it, and in that way you're encouraging more people to date.
The comedians got really involved in it, I think. For the dates, literally, or the good and the bad, basically. So brilliant when it goes well, really sympathetic when it doesn't. Some of them even started to fancy some of the daters as well, which was good as well. So there were some who were sort of hoping the dates wouldn't work, so that maybe they could then date them afterwards. And I think even one comedian, who probably should remain nameless, slid into the DMs of one of the daters at the end of the show.
Oh my God!
Yes, I've heard.
But I think they will remain anonymous, probably.
For now. For all of you, what's been a highlight moment that jumps out that we can look forward to in this series? What's a particular moment that sticks with you?
For me, I think it was, I can't remember the second guy's name. Was it Ollie? Ollie and, what's it, Ollie?
Which, Craig, the
two young boys, both very beautiful, and they went like skiing on their first date.
Yeah, Oliver and Craig.
For me, that was one of my favorites, because I can't remember which lad it was, but one of them was, he said that, you know, his facial expressions was very like, he didn't really express himself that much. And it seemed like he was quite, I would call it stush. Stush is when you're very like, you don't want to be involved and you just, you know, think that you're too nice for this. And he said that kind of projects sometimes. So when I saw the both of them, they're both gorgeous boys. And, you know, you just looked at them and thought they'd be a great match, but there was things that they both said that they don't like to have in their partner. They both had it. So it was like, oh my gosh, this could go really wrong or this could go really right. And when they first come together, one of the young boys wasn't really giving anything off. So you couldn't tell whether he liked him or not. And you was just like, what is going on? I feel like there's a vibe. I know when there's a vibe. Someone tell me there's a vibe. And just at the end, they were kissing. I was like, I knew they were a vibe. I was rooting for them from the beginning. So that was a real beautiful moment for me, because I think we prejudge situations and you could be so nervous, and just by someone's facial expression or how they are when you first meet them, you might assume that they're not interested, but in the end they were. And I hope that they, you know, end up having a long-term relationship. They were lovely, gorgeous boys.
You might have to buy a hat, Judi.
I hope so.
So what about you, Joel? What's your standout moment so far?
I can't forget the gilet. I can't forget the gilet. Those guys were really. I loved how much they hated each other. Like it was fair play to Monkey Kingdom. I think they picked really good dates. They really cast that brilliantly, because you could quite easily go quite safe with them, I think, and obviously you just don't know what's going to happen on the dates. You have absolutely no idea from their perspective. So and just the weirdest stuff happened. There was one couple where it was seemingly normal. They were on this farming date where they were sort of tending to these animals, and you were like, oh, this is kind of going all right. They seem to be into each other. And then suddenly he goes in with like a foot fetish, and it just comes out of absolute nowhere. And he just does not stop going on about it. And you're just sat there like, stop going on about the foot fetish. And it's just that one stuck out for me a little bit. But it's but yeah, it was really well cast. I thought it was fascinating.
We should definitely applaud the daters, actually, because we're talking about the comedians obviously in the format, but actually, you know, it really wouldn't be any good without the daters. And fair play to them for doing that on television. You know, it was fantastically adventurous of them.
I mean, the two twins.
They were all amazing, good and bad, I think. You know, and came into the right spirits and so on. You know, I mean, good for them. And the team who found them, I mean, you know, amazing casting. I mean, really amazing.
I mean, can we talk about the twins? There was the twins that went in. I mean, let's be honest. You meet a brother and he's nice, and then you found out he's got a twin. You want to know, did I go for the right one? So you guys making this young lady date both of them at the same time, I think it was a genius move. And then she could
Two had an opportunity to miss. Those boys were brilliant. And she was great as well. She just controlled it. It was great. Yeah, really good.
It's time for another clip. And this one is an exclusive preview of this week's upcoming episode. And it is actually Love's Young Dream, Ollie and Craig.
How do you think today has gone? Actually, like, truthfully.
Like, I'm not going to lie. Huh? What did you say?
He said, like, I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
I think he's going to be, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't expecting it to be this good. That's what I think.
If Craig and Oliver don't see each other again, I don't want to overstate this or be dramatic, I will not believe in love anymore.
I think it's went well. Yeah. Like, definitely well. I think I definitely want to see you again.
Oh, God.
If you'd want to.
Yeah!
I'm glad you said that first, because I would want to as well, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So in it, do you want to...
Yeah, go on.
Yeah?
Oh, yes! Yes, boys!
Oh, wow, okay.
I'm telling you, they're going to go in for the tongues, babe. The tongues is
That's
coming.
more than tongues, that is.
That's nice.
Very sweet.
That's so nice. And he's sort of blushing as well, Craig. You can't read him at all.
No.
Definitely boyfriend material, but we'll just have to see how things go, do you know what I mean?
Definitely boyfriend material.
Do know what you mean. Yes. If I'm honest, at the beginning, I thought it was going to clash, but wow.
That might be one of the best we've seen.
Let's talk about dates. As Judi has said, we've all been on them. So this is the time to turn the spotlight back on you and ask you for your most embarrassing date ever that perhaps you would not like to make it to the TV screens of this program.
I think one of my most embarrassing dates, I went on a date with a guy and we went to a restaurant and we was eating lobster and he was enjoying the lobster so much. I mean, I think he was sucking on the shells and all sorts. So he was really involved, you know, ordered some cocktails and all the rest of it. And then the bill came and he was like, oh, I've only got 20 quid. What do you mean? What do you mean? You were sucking on that lobster leg like you was the daddy. What do you mean you've got 20 quid? I couldn't believe my mind. And also towards the end of the day, just before he dropped that bombshell, he started to talk about his girlfriend that is kind of split up with for a week. I was just like, this is awful. So I just did what anybody else would do. I said, listen, don't worry. You know, I'll cover this one. I just need to go to the cash point. And I left. I paid for my food. I went to the cash point, which was near my house, and never came back, basically. So yeah, I left him there. I couldn't believe it. It was just two bombshells at once. And you know, you're like, oh, it's so nice. You're looking forward to it, and just yeah.
No.
Nice
okay, well done.
That's why me and Judi Love never worked out. But, like, it's fine. It's fine.
What about you, Joel? What is your incident for the draw?
I've had some. To me, the worst part is that when I was involved in it, I didn't think it was a bad date, and then now I'm married. You sort of talk about stuff, and then my wife's like, "That sounds," and you just like, suddenly you're like, "Oh, I was really horrific." Like, honestly, this is. I used to take like food prep on dates. And like, so when you follow like a specific diet or something, yeah, I would make like food prep in like little like Tupperwares and stuff, and like have like steak and rice or something like that. And I'd take it on a date and just be like, sorry, do you mind? I've just got like, I've got to eat another meal at this time, and just like scoffed at, like the most unattractive thing of all time. In hindsight, I mean, I understand why it didn't work out, but I'm there just kind of scoffing down a meal from a Tupperware in the middle of a date, and I'm just the most unattractive man of all time. I cannot believe I'm married. Like, I just can't believe it.
Stick.
Just don't. Yeah, just keep the Tupperware in the cupboard. That's all.
I think dating makes great telly. Clearly, do you think it has got easier or harder in this age of social media, so many dating apps, so many people meeting online? Do you think that's made for a more straightforward affair, state of the heart, or not?
I feel like I feel like it has got harder for people to generally connect, because it's so easy in the sense of like you just slide in the DMs, you have a conversation, but there's so many options that I feel like they get bored very quickly. And if you don't respond and meet them straight away, then before you know it, they've moved on to the next person, or they've swiped to the next person. So the concentration level is not how it was. People's not investing as much time because there's somebody else. And it's so much bigger now. Before, you know, unless you traveled, you might not meet someone from a different country. We can just pop up today and decide to put in I want to date men from this country, or I want to travel there, but I can just do it all from my phone. So I think it's much more bigger, but unfortunately because of that, the options are so much more open, and people just not investing the time as much.
Fair enough. What do you think, Joel?
Yeah, I think the same, very similarly, actually. I think it's on one hand way easier, and on the other hand it's more difficult, because there's almost more pressure on every date, really, I think, because people just, the tiniest little thing, they're like, well, I don't like that, I'll move on to the next thing. Instead of, there's something to be said for the pressure of having to walk up to someone in a bar, or like get the confidence to like go on a date with like a friend of a friend, or like it just, I think there's something, I kind of personally quite liked it because it's made it like a slightly more level playing field. I never had the confidence to like just walk up to people that I found attractive. So like I never had that, and it always annoyed me so much that it was always the dickheads that kind of would come away with like the attractive women, because they were just the ones who would just go up to people and be like, oh, what's up? And I would just be like stood at the bar, just like staring at people, expecting to like for them to go home with me. And it's so it's kind of like it's worked well in that way, because it means you can get to know someone before you can go on a date with them, which is nice. And I being sort of a comedian, I suppose it's easier. That just I like to be able to talk, and so words is my thing. So I find it quite fun to talk to people and get to know them before you go on a date with them.
But lockdown, hasn't it, Joe? I'd probably say, I know you're married, but I don't know if you've heard more success stories as couples, new couples in lockdown. I feel that I have. I've spoken to a lot more people that have had like walking dates, because that's all they can do, and there's no other distraction. And they're now in good, secure 6 months relationship.
Well, I think it's that pressure's come back again in a strange way, because it's like, if you're gonna go on a date, if you're gonna kiss someone, you've got to know that, you know, you've got to invest your time in them, essentially, which is what before you would just kind of, I remember you go on a date with someone and it would be like, I really like them, but their eyebrows are weird. And then you just move on to the next person, you know? You just go on to the next person, because they're like, you know?
I got rid of because I didn't like their hairline. Like,
Exactly.
my friends were like, oh my God, Jay, what is wrong with you? That means his credit scored, he owns his house, but you're going on about his hairline? And I feel like in lockdown, you know, we just all went back to basics. So that walk, that conversation, like you said, Joel, you know, being a worthy person and being able to have that conversation, we was in our house and having a much more in-depth understanding of who we are and who other people are. I think it secured better relationships in this time.
Lovely. This is a question for all of you finally. What are each of you most looking forward to as we do hopefully start to come out of lockdown? What's the thing that you will run towards?
I'm looking forward to recording season 2 of Dating No
Yes,
Filter.
Judi.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Me too.
Anything else?
I'm looking forward to obviously seeing family and friends. Like, I feel like in this period, you know, I've gone through another transition of getting back to who I am, you know, without all the distractions. And you know, I love my closest people to me. You know, my friends, they're family. So I'm really looking forward to spoiling them, loving them, enjoying the simple things. You know, driving to someone's house, sitting in the garden, sitting in the house, having a drink, cooking for them. Just those basic things. And obviously going to the hairdressers, because I'm telling you, this week is and going on a date. I'm going on a proper date. Because, you know, they talk throughout lockdown, but I want to see where you're going to take me when, you know, lockdown is done. So those are the things I'm looking forward to.
Fantastic. And what about you, Dave?
Yes, family and friends, but I'm desperate to go to a gig. I mean, like, live music, I've missed it so much. So I cannot wait for that. I'm booking tickets, even though they may or may not happen.
Yeah. Very, very optimistic thinking.
Festivals.
Yeah, festivals.
That's I can't wait to do. Festivals and
desperate.
I can't wait to be just hammered in a field.
Oh, I'm so with you. I'm with you so much.
Strange. Like the things you look forward to, I can't wait to do that. Like it's so weird when you step back from it and you realize how weird that is, like of a thing to want to do. I want to be hammered in a field and not be able to sleep in a tent. Like that is what I want to do.
I'm with you.
You're going to have your Tupperware with you.
And I have my Tupperware and then eat away. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, thank you all very, very much for sharing your time with us today. And I'm so looking forward to the rest of this series. And I'm very, very grateful that this panel has introduced me to it. So what can we say? I'll say thank you to Joel, Judi and Dave. It's been a real pleasure. And you can watch the latest episode of Dating No Filter this evening on Sky One and Now TV. Thank you as well to earlier guests, to Dave, Sam, Lawrence, and Will McDonald. Happy birthday to a monkey this year. Happy 21st.
Thank you very much.
Here's to many more fantastic shows.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.